Zamora is a village in Africa known for its fertile soil and vast land. This village, rich in culture, was admired by other villages. The people of Zamora lived in harmony with each other thanks to their great rulers, King Malaika and Queen Sophia. The peaceful and prosperous life in Zamora was a testament to the king's wise rule and the queen's support. The villagers were grateful to live in such a wonderful place under the leadership of King Malaika and Queen Sophia. King Malaika had a brother named Okafor who was very jealous of him. Okafor tried to spread false stories to get the king dethroned, but the villagers didn't believe him. One day, King Malaika gathered the villagers at his palace. He addressed them with excitement, saying, "My people, I have wonderful news to share with you." Everyone was curious and eager to hear what the king had to say. The king continued, "Today I am overjoyed. God has blessed me, and I want to tell you that soon an heir to the throne will be born. Your beautiful Queen Sophia is pregnant." The crowd erupted in happiness. One woman stood up and told the king about the rumors Okafor had been spreading. The king smiled and reassured them, "Do not worry about what my brother says. I will speak to him, and there is no need for concern." After everyone returned to their homes, some villagers gathered outside and spoke among themselves, saying, "Our king is wise and just. He shows mercy to all, and it is clear that his brother has other intentions." After a few months, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The whole village celebrated, but deep down, they were a bit sad. They had hoped for a boy who would inherit the kingdom, and they wondered how a girl could rule over the village. The king, however, was overjoyed. He looked at his newborn daughter with immense happiness, holding her in his arms, showering her with love. He named her Princess Adugo. The elders were worried that the king had only a daughter. They wondered who would be their future king. While they were discussing this, one of the king's guards arrived, telling them that the king had summoned them all to the palace. The elders' consent went to the palace. At the palace, they sat down while the king, seated on his throne, addressed them. "I have called you here to discuss something very important," he began. "I know my brother very well. He is a cunning man and wants to dethrone me. I am worried about what will happen if I am no longer here." The chief elder stood up and said, "Your Majesty, you have only a daughter. Who will be our future king?" The king replied, "There is an heir to the throne." The elders were surprised and asked, "Where is the crown prince, Your Majesty? Why did you keep it a secret? We thought you didn't have a male child." The king said, "I don't have a male child, but my daughter, Princess Adugo, is your future king." Everyone was astonished. Some supported the idea, while others were against it. Some of the elders became very angry, and everyone in the palace began talking at once. The king raised his hand for silence and declared, "My daughter, Princess Adugo, will be the future king of this village. This is final." He then turned to the chief elder and instructed him to write everything down in the official record. Once it was written, the king signed it. The room fell silent. The king continued, Let this remain a secret among us. This information will only be revealed if I am no longer here. As my counsel, you must stand united and support this decision. Think as I do. He added, it has been many months since I last saw my brother. I believe he is planning something against me. Listen to me carefully. My daughter is our future, and we must protect her at all costs because we do not know what tomorrow holds. After everything was settled, all the elders went back to their homes and lived happily. Before now, Princess Adugo, who was just 15 years old, often helped her father, King Malaika, with difficult problems. She was known for her intelligence and kindness, and many believed she was even wiser than the king. One day, a tough problem came up in the palace. The king's advisors couldn't solve it, and everyone was worried. The king looked to his daughter for help. Princess Adugo stepped forward and said, "Father, may I try to solve this problem?" The king nodded, trusting her. Adugo thought for a moment and then asked the widow, "What is so fragile that saying its name breaks it?" Everyone was puzzled. The villagers outside the palace listened closely, curious about the answer. Adugo then said, "The answer is silence." Everyone realized that silence was the key to solving the problem, meaning they needed to listen carefully and think before acting. The king smiled, proud of his daughter's wisdom. The elders now understood why the king wanted his daughter to be the crown princess. They were very happy to have listened to the king and said to themselves, "We have a better king and we must make sure she becomes the king." While King Malaika was relaxing in his sitting room, his long lost brother Okafo unexpectedly arrived at the palace. The king was surprised. It had been 15 years since he had last seen or heard from Okafo. "Welcome, my brother Okafo," the king said warmly. But Okafor's face was hard and filled with anger. "I am not your brother," he replied coldly. "I am your enemy, and I have come to take what rightly belongs to me." Before the king could react, Okafor attacked him with a hidden dagger. The king struggled, but Okafor was relentless. He overpowered King Malaika and brutally stabbed him multiple times. The king fell to the floor, bleeding and gasping for breath. With his dying breath, King Malaika looked up at Okafor. His eyes filled with sorrow and disbelief. Okafor's face remained expressionless as he watched the life drain from his brother. The palace was filled with silence, broken only by the distant sounds of life continuing outside. Unaware of the tragedy that had just occurred within the palace walls, as Okafor slipped away from the palace unnoticed, the queen entered the room and found the king lying on the floor, covered in blood. The queen let out a loud scream when she saw the shocking scene. Her cry caught the attention of others nearby, who rushed to see what had happened. The palace was filled with confusion and sadness as everyone realized the king had been killed. The kingdom of Zamora was filled with deep sadness after the death of King Malaika. Queen Sophia and Princess Adugo stood with the villagers, all of them crying and mourning the great loss. The usually lively village was quiet, with market stalls closed and the people gathered in the central square sharing their grief.